Today, we are opening up a time capsule. Seriously, we're going to go all the way back to 1975, a time before anyone had ever landed on Mars, to explore one of the most ambitious missions in human history, NASA's Viking. And we're going to do it all through the lens of the original plan, exactly as it was laid out for the world.
So what you're looking at here is the cover of the actual press kit for the Viking mission. This document, this was it. It laid out the entire audacious plan, from launch to landing, for a world that was just waiting to find out if we were alone in the universe. We're going to walk through this plan just like a journalist would have back in 1975.
But why Mars? Why this singular obsession? Well, it goes back centuries, and you know what? It was all sparked by a simple mistake. A mistranslation of the Italian word canali, which just means channels, led the astronomer Percival Lowell to believe he was seeing engineered canals on Mars. His declaration fueled this global fascination, this idea of Martian civilizations.
Now, Lowell wasn't the first to dream, of course. For hundreds of years, Mars had been this beacon of mystery up in the night sky. It was a canvas for our hopes, our fears, and really our biggest questions about the universe.
You see, each observation just added another layer to the story. Huygens gave Mars its first distinct feature. Then Herschel saw it had seasons, just like Earth. And of course, Schiaparelli gave it those infamous canali. But the real game changer? That was Mariner 9 in 1971. It completely wiped away the old ideas of a dead, cratered rock and revealed a world of gigantic volcanoes and vast canyons. All of a sudden, Mars was dynamic, it was complex, and it was just waiting for us.
And that brings us to Viking. This wasn't just another mission. This was the culmination of centuries of wonder. It was America's definitive attempt to answer the biggest question of all.
I mean, just listen to how President Gerald Ford framed it in the foreword to this press kit. This wasn't just about science. This was about national pride and that pioneering spirit. It was a statement to the entire world about what was possible.
So what was Viking exactly? Well, the press kit calls it America's most ambitious unmanned venture. And they weren't kidding. Not one, but two identical spacecraft sent to perform the most detailed examination of Mars ever attempted. And right there, stated as plain as day, was its primary goal: the search for life. So, the mission had two heroes. Think of the orbiter as the scout. It gets there first, it surveys the terrain from high above, and it picks the absolute perfect spot for the main event. The lander then, well, that's the scientist on the ground. Its job is to get its hands dirty, analyzing the soil and the atmosphere up close. It was a perfect partnership. But before any of that incredible science could happen, the Vikings had to actually get there. And let me tell you, this was no short trip. This was an epic, interplanetary chase across the vastness of space. Just let that number sink in for a second. 505 million miles. That's the distance the Viking spacecraft had to travel, and not in a straight line either, but in this carefully calculated arc to catch up with a moving planet. The scale is it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. And it's a testament to the incredible precision that was required. And the mission timeline was just as epic as the distance. After launching in August of '75, the spacecraft would spend nearly a full year in what the press kit beautifully calls a long, looping chase through space. And that planned landing date, July 4th, 1976, that was no accident. It was the 200th anniversary of the United States. The symbolism was intentional and it was powerful.
I absolutely love this description from the press kit. For almost a year, the lander, the most sophisticated laboratory ever built, would just be dormant, protected inside its shell, waiting for that moment of metamorphosis on another world. What a beautiful way to put it.
Okay, now for the main event. After that incredibly long journey, it was finally time for the science. It was time to deploy this incredible robotic laboratory on the surface of Mars. First up, the orbiter's job. Its eyes, this visual imaging subsystem, were absolutely critical. They weren't just taking pretty pictures. No. They were scanning the pre-selected landing zones, looking for any last-minute dangers. Boulders, craters, steep slopes, anything that could doom the lander. So once a safe spot was confirmed, the lander would head down with this incredible toolkit. It was designed to be a complete scientific outpost. I mean, look at this list. A weather station, a seismologist to listen for Marsquakes, a chemist to analyze the soil, and of course, the biology experiments, the absolute heart of the mission.
And this illustrates the single most terrifying part of the entire mission. The landing sequence was a high-wire act with zero safety net.
The lander had to separate, survive what they called the flashing heat of entry, deploy its parachute, and then fire its retro engines with perfect timing for a soft touchdown. Any single failure in that chain meant the mission was over. Just incredible pressure.
You know, one of the key questions the mission wanted to answer was this: is Mars dead, geologically speaking, or is it still alive? They packed a 3-axis seismometer that was designed to just listen for tremors, for any seismic activity that would prove the planet was still churning deep inside.
But all of this, the journey, the technology, the insane risk, it was all in service of one ultimate goal, the one that had captured humanity's imagination for centuries. The press kit doesn't mince words here. It doesn't beat around the bush. The primary goal, the special emphasis, was the search for evidence of extraterrestrial life. This was the first time in history humanity would have the tools to directly, physically test for life on another planet.
And it's truly impossible to overstate the stakes. Dr. Heroris, a biologist at Caltech, put it perfectly in the press kit. This wasn't just about collecting data. A positive result would fundamentally change our place in the cosmos. It would be, without any exaggeration, one of the most momentous events in all of human history. This line really captures the spirit of 1975, this sense of awe and privilege. I mean, think about it. For all of human history, the question of life elsewhere was pure speculation, pure philosophy. The people behind Viking knew they were the first generation with the technology to actually seek evidence, to finally run the experiment.
And so this is the question that just hung in the air in the summer of 1975. This was the entire purpose of that 505 million-mile journey. As the Viking spacecraft sat there on the launch pad, the whole plan, the whole dream, it all boiled down to this one final, profound question. And the answer, well, it was waiting.